Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Marketing Podcast, your source for all things marketing. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Vanessa Shanahan on the line, and she's a digital analytics and strategy executive. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
So I have to say, part of the reason I love doing this podcast and the marketing podcast specifically is because I always get to learn things. So that being said, I'm excited to get into digital analytics and strategy and to learn from you. That being said, before we get into that, tell us a little bit more about your background. So how did you get started in your career?
Yeah, so I ended up getting a PhD from the Claremont Colleges in quantitative methodology, which is a fancy way of sort of saying the application of research methodology or the scientific method to the real world. And when I finished that, most of my classmates were going on to the university and academic sector. And I thought, well, that seems like it's going to be a bit boring. Let me just figure out what's the coolest, funnest, sexiest job I could get. And I went to the complete other end of the continuum, and I ended up in Los Angeles working for two of the three major consulting firms that service the entertainment industry. So our clients were the largest movie studios. And so I started my career building models that predicted how much box office films would make and testing trailers and TV spots. And for me, it was just like the coolest, most exciting way to be able to apply everything from, the sort of scientific method to real world application to learn how can we maximize opportunity in terms of driving consumer demand.
And I saw your background, and that's why I was excited to talk to you about digital analytics. I'm like, Vanessa knows what she's talking about, number one, and you can also just tell when somebody loves what they do. You just feel it. So that being said, I think that's a great transition. So digital analytics and strategy. I mean, a lot of business owners, a lot of executives, a lot of entrepreneurs listening right now. Some are more advanced than others in terms of their strategy and their analytics capability. Where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, every organization now has sort of a multitude of data in ways that they didn't have access to, at all levels of the organization, from, your sort of boots on the ground marketing team all the way right up to your C-suite. And, these teams are trying to sort of synthesize and look at all of these sort of different data pipelines and try to identify, what are the data points that matter and where, how to sort of filter through the noise to find the patterns and key into what is ultimately driving ROI for their business. That is the $1 million question. That's why brands come to me to help them identify what's driving their business and how can we do more of it and how can we optimize our media and our marketing plans so that we're getting the most out of every dollar we put into market.
Where do you find, I know this is going to change from company to company, of course, size of company, I mean, a lot of different things, there's a lot of variables, but I do also know that certain themes tend to arise. So where do you find are some of the common mistakes that a lot of businesses make in kind of managing their analytics, like before working with you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a mistake. I think it's just really, kind of relying on this is the way we've always done it, or relying on this is the type of marketing and media plan like we've always had, and it has sort of, it has always worked for us because, one thing that we can see now is with the digital ecosystem, it's rapidly evolving. I've worked on the front lines of social media marketing for the last 4 years, and I've spent 4 years doing what brands are trying to do now. And what I can tell you and having, sort of being on the pioneer of social data is that these platforms are changing not only weekly, they're literally changing daily. And the types of ad units that are available and the opportunities for brands to connect with their consumers and their users on these platforms are really rapidly evolving. So the idea that what used to work works today, or what works today will work tomorrow, really just doesn't hold anymore. And I think the real opportunity is to be on the cutting edge and identify where those opportunities are, and always be sort of testing and learning and pivoting, and to really have the opportunity to be able to maximize your opportunity for growth requires an element of experimentation and the willing to be a bit risk taking in terms of testing and learning.
What kind of trends are you noticing, and what kind of things excite you right now in analytics, and just in general that you're seeing from your vantage point?
Yeah, I mean, I think really the most exciting thing at this point is really the increasing time in the digital space for users across all consumers, regardless of age, SES. It's this increasing time in the digital ecosystem. We're seeing increases in things like podcasting, streaming media, all platforms. We're seeing new emerging social platforms coming, and really, kind of changing the social mix for the platforms. You're hearing a lot about newer platforms like TikTok. Obviously, Snap's been around, but it's becoming, they're definitely positioning themselves to be able to work with brands and create opportunities for brands to reach their users there. And then, of course, you've got, Facebook and Instagram that have been just crushing it for years, and they are also evolving at a really rapid pace. So, all of these together, the social platforms and broadly in the digital ecosystem is a place where we are going to continue to see more users spending more time. And it's those brands that can lean into that and identify opportunities to get in front of their users and reach their users and their loyalist users and harness content from those loyal users and the brands use that content themselves to sort of amplify out is a real opportunity.
Oh man, some people, like they say, the gold rush is the digital rush. Like, there's just so much opportunity out there right now. It just blows my mind, and there's so many ways that people can really grow their businesses, expand, and just provide a lot of more value to the marketplace, and do it at a less cost than once upon a time it took. And even for small brands to scale, or for large brands to get bigger, I mean, there's just so many different ways. The whole business ecosystem and marketing and analytics is a big driver of making all that possible. As you mentioned, that whole ROI part of it. I mean, you need the money coming in. You know where it's coming in. You need to know where to optimize. So that's my simple explanation of it. But that's the core of my understanding. Not quite as fancy as you, Vanessa, but that's what I got. So that being said. And I could talk to you about this all day. I have like 50 more questions, but we're about out of time. If somebody's listening to this, Vanessa, and they want more information about working with you or to learn more about what you do, what's the best way for them to reach out?
You can reach me on my LinkedIn profile. My handle is VNessJ, or you can search me, Vanessa Shanahan, and you'll find my LinkedIn profile.
Fantastic. Well, hey, I just want to say thanks again for coming to the show, Vanessa. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Marketing, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. I mean, love to know what kind of projects and things you're working on. And Vanessa, thanks again for coming on the show.